Welcome to today's broadcast. No matter what kind of day you're having, please remember that God is big and He is good. He is bigger and better than you think. Now, I've always had complete confidence that my string trimmer would start on the third pull, but in the middle of the summer last year, when I pulled the start rope for the third time, my trimmer just wouldn't start, acting as if it was flooded. It was a big hassle to get the thing to run that day. And it's been a big hassle on many occasions since then. I didn't used to have any doubt that my trimmer would start, but now I find a lot of strange thoughts going through my head as I get ready to trim the yard. Thoughts like, we have guests coming over in a couple of hours. What if this sucker won't start? How am I going to get the yard looking nice? My confidence in my trimmer has been challenged. Well, now if God had always done exactly what you had asked of Him, you would have no problem with faith. Your faith in God would remain unchallenged. But your faith in God has been challenged, and the challenger is called unbelief. We read in Matthew 17:14 through 20. And when they had come to the multitude, a man came to Him, kneeling down to Him and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is an epileptic and suffers severely, for he falls often into the fire and often into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they could not cure him. Then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you? Bring him here to me. And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, Why could we not cast it out? So Jesus said to them, Because of your unbelief. For assuredly I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, Move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. Jesus called the disciples and their generation faithless and perverse. That was a harsh criticism, considering those words primarily describe unbelievers throughout the New Testament. Was Jesus so critical of His disciples because they failed to heal the boy? Well, we know from Luke's account, as recorded in Luke chapter 9, that prior to this incident, the disciples had already been out on their own, healing everywhere they went. So, what changed? It wasn't as if the disciples hadn't done this same thing before. Why didn't it work this time? When the disciples asked this very question, Jesus told them it was because of their unbelief. Well, certainly the disciples had faith, or they would not have even attempted to heal the boy. But their unbelief neutralized their faith. If you study the three accounts of this story in Matthew chapter 17, Mark chapter 9, and Luke chapter 9, you will notice that Jesus was critical of His disciples, not because they couldn't heal the boy, but because they didn't realize who He, Jesus the Christ, was. Healing the boy would have just happened naturally if they had realized His true nature. I am convinced that the disciples had begun to rely on the power and authority over all demons and to cure diseases that Jesus had given them, rather than, or more than, to rely on Jesus Himself. And Jesus calls relying on anything other than Him unbelief. For more, please visit givethatmountain.org, and you have a wonderful day.